Hi guys, and welcome to another Whisky Geek video. My name's Ben, and today I'm after another bottle kill, or a pair of bottle kills really. Another two bottles that have been lingering on my shelves, and they've survived okay really for the amount of abuse that they've received. I'm going to review these two, the Auchentoshan American Oak and the Auchentoshan 3-Wood. And then I quite like this, I'm motivated to get reviews, get videos out and get these done so that I make space on my shelves and I get to pick some new whiskies to open. So let's get them poured, get stuck in. Now Auchentoshan, or Auchentoshan, is a Lowlands distillery. It was, until quite recently, one of the only two Lowlands distilleries that were putting out single malt. So Auchentoshan has kind of embraced this typical Lowlands profile as the softer side of things, a softer spirit and easy to drink. And part of the way that they achieve this is by triple distillation. They have 3 stills, big kettles basically, big copper kettles, that work in succession, reducing what compounds make it through to the next stage of the alcohol production process. And this, as an engineer, I kind of feel like you could achieve essentially the same thing by different designed pair of stills, but it does bring a typically kind of oily character to Auchentoshan, even after the chill filtration. And they're owned by Beam Suntory. I think there's a middle holding company, Bowmore Morrison, so it's the same company that owns Bowmore, and they, being a little cynical, they don't really respect their whiskey, not from my point of view. They chill filter, they colour, they bottle at 40%, no age statements are fraught, they're all over the place. So I don't think that it's an integrity malt, but that's not in and of itself a reason not to try it, possibly a reason not to take a punt on a full bottle, but if you get a chance, give it a try, maybe in a bar or something. So I'm starting with the American Oak. Like I said, no age statement. This one is bottled at 40%, and it's all American Oak, so ex-bourbon. I think they say it's all first fill bourbon casks, which means it's the second alcohol to hit the oak, the first alcohol being bourbon, second being a refill for this scotch. So taking a look at this colour, it's quite a clear and crisp gold, so if they have coloured it, they haven't coloured it a great deal. I've got it down as a shade 5 or white burgundy. Moving on to the nose. So straight away on the nose, I'm getting this kind of coconut husk, a little bit tanniny, and heather, a little floral. But there's a lemon pledge cleaner, kind of solventy lemon. Then you've got almost creamy cereals and a subtle vanilla. But it's kind of a almost synthetic vanilla, like vanilla yogurt, something like that. And underlining it all is like a linseed oil, almost plasticine-y. I think whilst it is fairly accessible and easy to get behind, it's not coming across as pure to me. There's the solvents, the synthetic, the plasticine. It's just not a pure nose. There's something industrial-ish about it. Moving on to the palate. It's creamy, it's got quite a nice mouthfeel, a little thick. There is a prickle, but it's gentle and it's kind of fluid, it rolls in. Those tannins are kind of shifting from coconut husk more towards a dry wood. There's a touch of vanilla still in there. And that linseed oil is still present, but it's less plasticine now. It's a little bit more pleasant on the palate. On the finish, it's holding well, it's clinging to your mouth. It's again oily, a decent texture. There's a warmth that is building, but it's a gentle build. It's not a wave of warmth. And it's the tannins, the again woody tannins, that are holding on the palate. Not a great deal of the creaminess, the oily linseed oil flavour, or any sweetness on the finish really. So I've given this one a rating of 63%. It's fairly linear, there's no complexities or development or shifting. the more you drink it, it just keeps giving you more of the same. Now there is a nice textural quality, it's oily, and I think that has contributed to why it's held so well. I always have a rule of thumb of, with the last third of the bottle maybe, you should try and finish it off within 3 to 6 months, or at the very least avoid opening it repeatedly. And these haven't been looked after in that way, but they haven't really faltered. Given the low quantity left in the bottle, they haven't really deteriorated as you might expect. So I paid £20 for this bottle, and at £20 it's okay, just okay. It's valid as a opener or an introduction whiskey for beginners, which is largely what I've used it for really. It's because it's not heavily sweet, it's actually erring more on the side of bitter. It's quite good for palate priming, where you introduce someone with something easy and accessible, but then in contrast the next one is going to come across much more sweet because this is on the bitter side of things. So this next one we're looking at is the Auchentoshan 3 Wood. Now you'll probably notice I've got the older packaging, but they have recently changed, and it's kind of a tangential change in my opinion. These bottles look fairly modern as is, and the new bottles are just different. So looking online at the newer bottles, the recommended retail price seems to be about £45. I'm pretty sure I paid £35 for this back when I bought it. £45 puts it in with some pretty stiff competition. The 3 Wood, unmistakably 3 Wood, is finished. So it starts in American bourbon oak, similar to the American oak expression, but then it transitions into Spanish Oloroso, a sherry, which then transitions to another sherry, Pedro Jimenez. And that's how we get the 3 Wood. So this is bottled at 43% ABV, and although the colour is considerably darker, shade 14, Old Bordeaux, it is not necessarily natural. A good portion of that could be E150A. So the nose on this one is interesting. Up until doing a blind taste test on value sherry bottles, I never really found this off note, but when I picked it up in that blind test without knowing what I was drinking, the off note is now pungent to me, and it's very hard to push past. That is quite a heavy plasticine flavour. It's like that linseed oil has mixed badly with some possibly solventy, sulfury notes. But when you do push past that plasticine note, there's quite a lot of nice fruit to it. Red berries and cocktail cherries. Turkish Delight, kind of that fruity, synthetic-y, solventy combination. And singed wood shavings. I've had a cocktail with wood shavings set on fire on top of it for some reason, and it's reminding me of that. Kind of a darker, almost tobacco-y burnt note. Now there is more of an alcohol prickle to the nose than the American oak, but if you focus on the dark sugars and use that as your hook to push past the off note, that's what I'm having to do, then it's really quite pleasant. So what does the palate give us? What first hits me is kind of a licorice, and those candied cherries have been dipped in dark chocolate. It's getting heavier on the palate, but still very much in the realm of kind of a pudding whiskey. Toffee and buttercream, a little bit of kind of demerara sugar, muscovado sugar sweetness, and plenty of that linseed oil backing everything up. On the palate, it may be that it's kind of, I've already pushed past it, so it's less plasticine-y, but it's not as cloying by any means on the palate. Now it goes kind of flat into the finish. Lots of those fruits have just altogether subsided. There is some of that brown sugar sweetness still there, but the plasticine note has reared its ugly head again. There's more of the solvency tones, a building warmth but not a particularly strong warmth, and tannins, woody tannins. It's quite unusual for me to appreciate the palate the most on a whiskey. It's normally the nose, but on this one it's definitely the palate is the strong point. So I've given this one a rating of 66%. It's only just pipped the American oak. There's a lot to like about the whiskey, but there's also quite a lot to dislike, and to me it's coming down to that paradigm of where are you on your whiskey journey. I've given this to a lot of newer whiskey drinkers and they've absolutely loved it. But a more experienced whiskey drinker, someone like me, getting stuck on plasticine, getting stuck on the chill filtration, the no age statement, the synthetic colouring, it's just not living up to a £45 asking price. There is no value there for me. However, if you are earlier in your whiskey journey and you see this, perhaps see it on offer, you'll probably really enjoy it. There are plenty of other whiskies that I'd rather buy though. So thanks for watching guys, like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.